you got a little distracted, a little pause there. I'm gonna slam the ultimate, call out the GOAT, and force a flash out of Carzzy. So that is definitely a big target, especially heading into potential dragon fight in 2 minutes on that Cloud if SK do decide to fight them there.
I mean, that's the one thing that you do have to keep in mind. The team fight 5v5 from SK is incredibly powerful. They synergize very well. The thing is, they cannot afford to miss anything because of how far ahead this Draven is and the amount of damage difference between the respective carries.
Man, Elyoya learned from last game, because if this was last game, he would just hit ult and actually, he didn't have ult up. Never mind. Didn't learn a thing. He would ult it if he could.
Real hard. But anyway, in the mid lane now, going to be able to get down this outer turret. A lot of members from SK completely out of position here, so Matt should be totally fine. Might even get a second turret, to be perfectly honest.
Let's find out that Rift Herald will be able to charge up. At least 3 members staring down Mad Lions. Certus and Marcoon making their way forward, holding on to their dredge line for now. Irrelevant will not be able to get pulled back by that hook from Hilly, but 2 more towers secured. The gold lead extended even more, and we're a minute until Dragon.
And they can back clear all of these wards, right? That's 2 control wards they're walking past. I don't know if they spotted the one that Chasey just ran by. They did ping it out, so surely someone's going to be able to clear that. Maybe they didn't actually notice that one. They do have control wards aplenty down on this bot side of the jungle, so I think SK are going to try to cross map. They're trying to farm all these camps. Mad Lions aren't going to let them.
No, they're not. Mad Lions continue the hunt, continue to chase for kills. Marcoon stays alive long enough to at least get 1 tick on that Cyclone, and Exit Kick flash available to him. We'll need that in just a moment. He's run out of mana. 4 members of SK now running through the river, and Mad Lions are chasing. That's Chasey with the first of the fight, and Irrelevant will be the next, buying some time for the rest of his squad. But SK are split. They're behind enemy lines, and it feels like just a matter of time.
They're trying to run. Doss splits apart from his mid laner, trying to pull the attention of the Mad Lions members as he runs under the towers. But Certus is still being chased, snapped down to the bot jungle because he's on a sliver of HP, and the whirling death from Carzzy. No. He's coming around the corner, ready to stop him. The dragon interrupts it, and Carzzy goes unstoppable.
And it feels to me like SK have been caught in the chaos, and it is Mad Lions tearing them apart. Every single initiation for the last 10 minutes has gone Mad Lions' way.
It was just gorgeous decision making again, because they just took this inner tower and they realized we don't actually have to play for Drake. SK want to switch towards the top side, but they have nowhere to run without that tower. So they just sprint through mid lane, where again, without tower you have no vision, sneak up on SK, and SK realized they're actually on the wrong side of the map. They thought it was going to be a handshake and they could get a tower, get some camps for free. Mad Lions were having none of that. That's perfect snowballing.
And it's the fact that XK didn't have any mana. You didn't have Certus in the correct position. So many of these things falling apart because they didn't expect Mad Lions to contest them. So when they ended up finding that Mad Lions had come to join them, it was an absolute disaster, and Pad looking pretty happy with that one.
Oh yes, the coaching and analyst crew very happy with how this game is playing out. And I think for them, very important to actually pick up this win. SK were in a great position in the previous game, but it has felt like whoever's on blue side, whoever's been able to pick up that lead, has been able to run away with the game.
Fnatic just showed us Fnatic pause hack, now it's Fnatic push hack, they found Chasey!
They have, Chasey's already down, but the re-engage is simply too much. Elyoya now trying to get the damage onto Doss as Marcoon and Exit Kick stepping backwards. The mine throws him up in the air. Exit Kick is pulled back for Carzzy to use those spinning axes. Niski holding off 2 members of SK, and there's not enough damage. There's not enough support. Certus will arrive a little bit late to the fight, and Exit Kick is taken out by Carzzy. Now SK are running. It's 3-on-3 in the river. Certus, while healthy, simply doesn't have the front line.
4-on-3 now as Irrelevant shows up. He has the call of the Forge God. If Mad Lions were to overstep, there could be a potential punish. SK, frankly, they get away with the murder. Like, Goldborg gave him a tutorial earlier. They just managed to do it, getting 2 kills and slithering away.
It's also the fact you got these bounties, right? You get one off to Chasey, now you're going to get the bounty in the mid lane as well. It's a good amount of gold coming back, but it's a long way to crawl. You're still 8,000 gold behind. There's still a long way before SK can really come back into it, but maybe, just maybe, they can keep finding picks.
I really like this. They knew someone was going to come for that top wave. See, it's dead in the middle of that top lane, but here, both solo laners from SK are just not around, so somehow they have to kite this one through. I think Hylissang absolutely destroys X-Kick a couple of times here with the Qs. That ult from Niski, actually problematic, allowed a player from SK to survive, I do think, but they're straight to the Baron.
That's already down to half. 4 or 5 members of SK grouped up. No flash available for X-Kick.
SK have no ults.
There are juicy targets indeed. Marcoon, no Cyclone available to him. The engage from Irrelevant may cost SK Gaming, and this should be the Baron secured.
Niski says, drinks on me tonight, lads. Brilliant cast into the back line that shuts down Exakick, and he wants more.
Oh, look at that damage. Chasey firing from SK's side of the rift. The ace, the Baron, the gigantic lead. And Mad Lions looking to close this one out.
That is just gross. Mad Lions forced the Baron so quickly. SK had a call of the Forge God and the Emperor's Divide. That was it running into the fight, and they got absolutely exploded by Niski and the rest of Mad Lions. A fantastic fight. This Draven continuing to look unstoppable, and Mad Lions, yeah, they stumbled in game 2, but they're straight back into it. Keep your eyes though, because right now SK, they're running towards topside. They were pinging a ward in Mad Lions' blue buff jungle. If they could extend this, maybe there's an option, but that ward's so far away, and Mad Lions are just too damn strong.
There's another minion wave, Conga lining its way forward. Irrelevant takes a couple of those spinning axes, and here comes Hilly. Got the ult available as well. Irrelevant gets the knockup to buy some time. At least there's one back for Exakick, but that's Irrelevant dropping down. Kazi's low, Kazi's caught, Kazi stopwatches up, but the rest of SK are taken out by the Pride. And once again, Mad Lions ace SK.
And Mad Lions will take game 2 off the back of a fantastic performance from Karzi, bringing out the Draven one more time and showing that it should be feared.
Mad Lions looking to go 2-1 up in the series. Do they continue the pressure with the Baron empowered minions? It looks to be the case. It has been 544 days since Mad Lions have won a best of 5 here in Europe. It was the summer finals that they picked up the title for. And they're looking to put themselves in a position to take down
That's
SK.
Baron recalls. Wait, but Niski isn't hitting the B button. Oh no.
All right, well, will Niski be taken out? Where's the rest of the damage shares? Irrelevant. By some time, Call of the Forge God will hold Niski in place for now. Certus continuing the chase, tidal wave front as well, and Niski may be able to just waddle to safety, and SK can do nothing. Flex on them! Flex on them, Niski!
No. Irrelevant still chasing. He gives him the Timo thumbs up. The sad beat. The rest of SK are on the way. But what are they gonna do? Finally manage to kill him? No, not today.
He stays alive while that's going on. The rest of Mad Lions push the bottom lane. They look to secure their 8th tower. Dragon has spawned as well, and Niski will not get taken down. All of a sudden, Mad Lions, now they are chasing on to yet another inhibitor turret.
Doss has been chased by Niski. He's been turned around.
Not
He's
like
actually gonna
this.
get a kill.
Not like
Not
this.
like this. Niski on his first ever Gragas mid, showing off at 23 minutes, looking for some sushi.
This is wrong. This is
for a
wrong.
Kill. And Doss is forced to flash for his life. And look at this bottom lane. Still pressure from Mad with those Baron empowered minions.
Look, sushi and a drink sounds like a great time to me. Hillisang says, let's party.
Manages to find yet another hook. The Cyclone holds a couple of members in place, but there's not enough damage. There's not enough follow-up. And it's Elyoya followed by Kazi to pick up more kills. The Nexus is that it already lost himself one of those turrets, and Mad Lions are dominating SK.
Don't worry though, Doss is still fine.
Yeah, it's not sushi, it's pigeons on the menu instead, because it's Certus that goes down. They're going to push on through, and there it is.
Mad Lions destroying SK, and a 1 win away from advancing to the 3rd place match, the semi-finals. That was brutal. That was a game that Elyoya helped the Kazi and bottom lane, as well as Hilly, to just completely take over. And SK looked lost.
No.
SK looked incapable of standing toe-to-toe.
There's just nothing you can do there. I look up when the game ends. Irrelevant was halfway off the stage as the Nexus was destroyed. SK out of sorts here, falling in just over 20 minutes. After they looked great in game 2, a completely different story.
But it feels damned if you do, damned if you don't there for SK. If you do not control the bottom side of the map, but Chasey just owns topside anyway because he constantly gets the push. He becomes massive. And I think he was a little bit under talked about here. Chasey was huge on this chase, dealing just as much damage as the Draven was. Across the board, it's Mad Lions stepping up again.
Yeah, not forget Chasey dodging out from that initial gank, shutting Irrelevant to the side, so the Forge God wasn't able to hit him. He survives, and then every time he had prio, he shifted into mid lane, right there with Elyoya. Multiple moments where they were hammering home against Certus and making it so Certus couldn't have another Akali
I mean,
performance.
game 2 and game 3 were absolutely dominated by the respective junglers that got an advantage. Marcoon Sejuani was able to set up SK to sort of run away with that earlier mid-game. In Game 3, Elyoya and Mad destroyed SK. They are one win away from closing out the series. We're going to go to a break, and when we're back, can SK force the decider?
My name is Jay-Z. I'm so stupid.
What? You're so stupid, Jay-Z?
My name is Elyoya.
Jay-Z, it's okay to be stupid.
I'm here, guys. I'm here.
To have a huge influence in the team fights and in the later stages of the game. And it was Varus, Jace, and Elise, the blue side bands, the last time SK were there.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to see something very similar here as well. The problem is that we've, as you're kind of hinting at, seen a lot of firsts, right? The Elise, first time for Elyoya this split, looks absolutely fantastic on it. Karzi bringing back out the Draven that he had the loss on, absolutely smashes on it. Gragas coming through. It feels like Mad Lions have a very, very deep champion ocean here. And when you're able to not only flex on the meta, but then also look amazing on the off-meta picks, that's where I think you're really going to struggle as SK if you win this and have to go back to red side anyway.
Yeah, I also just wonder, like, how do you beat a Mad Lions? They're constantly moving both their side lanes and converging on mid lane with their priority. The Hylissang roams, Chasey moving down and working with Elyoya to punish Certus on the opposite side. Something for SK to consider is how do we get prio in those side lanes so that we can either stop Mad from doing that or do it ourselves.
And of course, when you look at these final bans, the Jax, the Ashe, the Elise, all still currently open. SK will ban away the Nautilus, deny that option to Hylissang. And I think Sejuani is another one that is intriguing concept because Marcoon undefeated this year on the pick and has found influence in the early game.
Sejuani, Elise, Ashe, all open right now. What do you want to pick? Because if all three go up, there's a real world, I think, where SK could maybe first pick the Ashe and look to trade Elise Sejuani. But at the same time, if Elise is open, I want Marcoon on that Elise. He's looked so good on it. And actually, Mad Lions banning away the Ashe makes that a pretty easy decision in my eyes.
Yeah, and you said it earlier on as well, Marcoon's the first to bring out this Elise as well, has been very, very good at getting these early leads, playing down towards the bottom side. Traditionally, it has been on some of these later scaling picks like the Zeri, though, that haven't been banned away. You imagine that Karzi and Hilly can always go back towards the Lucian Nami here too. So the big question for me is, what do Exakick and DOS bring to the table? Do we finally get to see them bring out the Caitlyn, which I think a lot of teams have started to kind of say is a bit bait, so maybe they try to avoid it.
Gonna avoid it this time around. Lucian Nami instead the priority. That Elise pick for Marcoon, 2 games played this year, both of them victories, 6 games across his entire career. And Marcoon has been the player that I look to for SK to control the early game, to generate a lead, then to take that advantage. And we're going to have an Aphelios for Exakick.
Really interesting, because I was thinking maybe it could be that Draven we mentioned a little bit earlier, but instead deciding to go the scaling route. The analyst desk was talking about this. SK needs some scaling guarantees alongside them, and that Lulu's a really nice pairing with the Aphelios.
That's actually funny because Karzi was the one who brought out the Aphelios there last week as well. So now we're going to have to see that opposite side. I think you've got great early game pressure from the Elise, but it does feel to me that you're going to be leaning away from bottom lane in this one. Just give Exakick time to scale. I think this is where Irrelevant, probably going to see a Jax ban here, but it feels like Irrelevant going to be going back towards a Akari, maybe even something like the Camille that we've seen from him prior as well.
This is really interesting, though. Again, we saw this when SK was on red side, taking Gragas on R3 with the Elise first pick that Mad Lions went for. Now, this is a technical triflex for the Mad Lions, because we just saw Niski play that in the mid lane, but I'm wondering if this is something that teams have discovered or learned if Elyoya takes this Gragas into the Elise, because I wasn't particularly impressed in game number 1 by that Gragas pick. Was able to match the Elise and kill her on one counter gank, but apart from that, it wasn't super effective.
And I think when you look at Niski's Gragas and you look at Caps running in mid lane Ornn, if I remember correctly, that mid lane sort of front line tanky sort of option has the ability to impact those side lanes, has the ability to move around, and it's going to be Akali and Jax the last bans.
This is the first time this entire series that Irrelevant Sion has been left open available. When you've got an Aphelios there, you want that big tanky front line, the ability to just run through, and as well, I mean, Lucian won't get through that Sion in the late game, so I feel like this is the moment where Irrelevant could bring it out.
But surely it's Sejuani Vibans here, removing a lot of options for the Mad Lions in terms of jungle. Could end up seeing it, but no, actually we're just super happy to play Elise into the Sejuani. I still feel like even though like Elise does get to run over that matchup kind of as she does most matchups, having that reliable engage power is something I'd remove.
This says to me they're setting up for a Silas pick in the mid. Use the double CC that you have, try and punish Niski heavily in the mid lane, and then make sure that you can actually step up, have this great late game team fighting with the Aphelios alongside the Sion. We'll have to see if that's going to be the game plan, especially as you go towards the K'Sante here. It feels like you can just match tank for tank.
Yeah, still leaving it up for debate where necessarily that Gragas is going to be. But yeah, I'm wondering now because they do need that front line. I think Sion is a reasonable answer. Gnar, something they've played before as well. Olaf, sure. I mean, with a Lulu there, you definitely would be happy to play something like that. But the Sion is a little bit too tempting, I think, to ignore here with it being left open.
But I think the problem is for Mad Lions, if you end up putting this Gragas into the mid lane, your DPS is so low to try and get through this Sion. And especially as these ears now going to be taken away as well in this mid lane, it looks like you're kind of looking at Niski going, okay, well, what can you bring to the table that can actually have an answer?
We need to find out, of course, if this Silas is locked in. That is a great denial to Niski, and talked a little bit about the anticipation that could have been one of the options. Instead, gonna flip back to the Azir. Niski, what is he feeling? A great front-to-back composition here from SK Gaming. Great front line, great back line, but if they are ever behind, if anyone from the Mad Lions can get past that front line, those are two low mobility champions that are very juicy. Niski, final lock-in will be that victor. Okay, zoom out. What do you make of the compositions?
Well, I do think the victor is just the right call here as opposed to putting the Gragas in mid lane. You need some way to match in the later stages of the game in terms of damage. You need some way to kill this Sion. Sion's still not going to be super easily killed by Mad Lions, but at least having some percent HP burn with the build here on the victor can give you some options in removing that frontliner. But all things said and done, I think SK are absurdly happy with how this turned out, right? They get the scaling in mid and bot lane, Irrelevance back on the side, and Marcoon has the Elise. He has been so strong this year on that champion, and I'm looking to him to be the spearhead for SK this game.
Yeah, I feel like it's basically a case of Marcoon match where Elyoya is, just allow your lanes to settle in, get to that later portion of the game, you should be fine. If you hit 3 items, you pretty much auto win on SK side.
Oh, can they survive long enough? Can they withhold and withstand Mad Lions' laning phase and their ability to move around the map? We have seen Mad Lions somewhat outclass SK in their rotations, in their pressure, pushing that vision deep, playing aggressive and on the front foot. SK, they got a lot of their signature picks that have pushed them all the way here to this 3rd, 4th place decider in playoffs. And for SK, their backs are against the wall, and this is do or die. Win, we go to game 5, lose, they are eliminated from the win.
SK have to find a way to reset after that devastating game number 3 loss. They're feeling good after the draft, and let's jump straight in to game 4 and see if SK can push us to a 5th.
And unfortunately, as soon as the players loaded onto the Rift, we do have a brief pause. This is actually good for me, personally, because
double thumbs up to really and summer in 2020. Then they get summer 2021. To see how disappointing 2022 was with failing to make playoffs in spring, immediately getting knocked out in summer with those 2 best-of-5 losses. To see Mad Lions performing to what is a level so many people expect them to reach is fantastic to see.
just before we actually start any of the trading in the laning phase, I think both of these teams really exceeding preseason expectations. SK, obviously a gigantic surprise in terms of how far they've been able to make it, how many teams they've been able to push. And for SK, they are now looking to withhold Mad Lions, force us to that game 5. Can they stall this game out, let their scaling play into their favor? You can already see this bottom lane already still trading about to begin. Kazi and Hilly have played very aggressively every single game this series.
It's been a really bloody 2 versus 2, but on that SK point, they're such an interesting story because preseason, I think community didn't have super high expectations, but the streets Here in Europe, we're talking. The streets were telling us that SK were looking really hot in scrims. They were going to show up, find ways to beat you. Teams had a lot of respect for them and their prep coming in early on.
And even Marcoon echoed that in Euphoria, right? He said, after 2 weeks of scrimming with these guys, I thought we could win the split. We could be the ones that go the distance. Exakid kind of brought that back down. I was like, I was happy with 7th or 8th, but I'm glad to see
they're doing better than that.
definitely exceeded that.
I mean, look at this. Exakid and DOS at level 1. Trading very aggressively into Kazi and Hylissang. They've used the barrier, they've used the heal, and they've managed to push the duo back under their tower. There is also Marcoon making his way into the jungle of Mad Lions.
Oh yeah, clearing away wards for the time being. Should be able to get a second one really easily here. Oh, he knows Gragas is here. Because there's a second ward, there's no way both bot laners place those wards. So he tracks Elyoya off of that. Elyoya is able to tick up to 3 here, but it's really hard to stick around. And because Elyoya's pathing went Raptors to blue to Grump, Wolves are contestable for Marcoon.
And of course, while that's all going on, Niski's taken some trades from Certus in the mid lane. Niski pushed all the way back. Marcoon running into 2 members of the Mad Lions. Repels up, drops down. Look at the minimap. Kazi's making his way into the jungle, and Marcoon is caught in enemy territory. Niski chasing forward, flashes, gets the Q down. Tower hits as well as the laser, and first blood secured by Niski, and the red buff as well.
Fantastic play there. Elyoya and Hylissang track Marcoon and shut him down. That is your only job playing against an Elise in the early game, is make sure your lanes are covered against the dive and you can move and punish her if he walks into her jungle.
And a big overstep from Marcoon as well. There was no need to overforce that. You got Gragas back. You're allowing Exakid and DOS to crash this wave, which is the big win. Now you don't get to crash this. Karzi and Hilly are going to hit level 3 and can go very aggressive in this bottom side now that you've got Gragas moving down here as well.
Remember, we talked about it. Elyoya needed to look for some sort of advantages. Could Marcoon control him, track him, prevent him having the influence? The fact that he overstepped and the response from Mad was so great allows that first blood to be secured. I think very importantly as well, Niski picking up that red buff, allowing him to gain some additional pressure in that mid lane because he was being bullied and pushed back by the early levels of Azir.
It is nice that Marcoon is able to run in, steal the enemy red buff. Didn't have an opportunity to look for a topside gank. Think really hard to lock down Chase and have enough burst damage to manage a kill versus that champion. But it did leave the bot lane a little bit vulnerable. Actually, Marcoon is pathing back towards the bot side, is very concerned about what could be going down in the 2 versus 2 with how far forward that bot lane has been pushed. And also, because on this Aphelios, in order to get the lifesteal back and actually heal away when you take those big early chunks trades, you almost are forced to push the wave early on. So they're trying to punish a lone Hylissang sticking under the tower.
This was a really good play from Karzi and Hilly though. Because the early invade went on, Exakid and DOS didn't get to crash the wave. Now Marcoon's called back down to the bot side, although he'd love to be clearing his top end of the camps. And yes, you'll get the crash, but Karzi's already reset. He's coming back with the advantage that he needs, and Elyoya is now looking top.
I mean, look at the advantage built up in that bottom lane. Plus 15 CS, a couple plates already secured, and Marcoon's still waiting in the wings.
No
the
way.
minion wave is being cleared out relatively quickly. Kazi is caught out, cocooned, dropped to 210 hit points. Marcoon now starting to back away as Hilly is trading with those autos. Exakid takes
is
himself a
tanking?
turret shot. All of a sudden, Kazi and Hilly step forward. Summon a heal use. Flash out from Kazi. He's
No
looking
way.
for DOS. Defensive flash use. Kazi is taken down by Exakid, and the assist as well for Marcoon.
Oh, Karzi thought he had an outplay, but he reached way too hard, flashing in, and SK shut him down. If Karzi and Hylissang just big chill down there, they would have been totally fine, because look at the top side of the map, completely open here for the Gragas to take, but now Elyoya has to try and look for some kind of response gank on the top.
Relevant is level 6, flash available to him. We'll just use that unstoppable onslaught to run away to safety. We're unable to find the play, but this was Mad Lions trying to force out Marcoon, and they just went too far.
I mean, great setup with the Gravitum from Exakid. Immediately Marcoon gets to land the damage that he needs. And Karzi knows, look, this is realistically over. Could try and maybe wait for Niski to get down there, but try to make the play happen. DOS just flashes away before the double shot comes through, and then Exakid able to finish off the last little burst.
I think maybe Karzi misprioritizing right there, because Exakid is the one with barrier. He sent the piercing light onto the Aphelios, but the barrier comes through, and then he switches focus to DOS. If he had initially tried just hit DOS, I think that was a kill. I don't think that initial piercing light actually clipped the Lulu.
And of course, because of the fact that Kazi and Hilly have been playing this style all series long, Kazi has been on the front foot. He was one of the almost like initiators into Game 3 a little bit earlier in the series, stepping forward, using that range, using the movement speed from Nami. SK anticipate it, they outplay it, and they managed to continue to hold that lead. BF Sword, as well as a 700 gold advantage. I saw Certus as well as Marcoon making their way towards the bottom lane, but Alyoya, level 5. Chasey caught out underneath the tower, is forced backwards by Irrelevant, who has the flash available to him. Irrelevant stepping forward, trying to get some more damage, and there's a potential dive on the cards in the bottom lane, Ender.
Yeah, this could be trouble. Alyoya has the flash. I think DOS was trying to scout it out. Still a long way away towards level 6, and Marcoon is not close enough, but they're going to call this one off. Not seeing an angle right there because Alyoya doesn't have access to level 6. They're just too close to the tower to actually threaten bursting down for a kill.
Of course, not unlocking that ultimate just yet. Small advantage, 10 creeps for Alyoya versus Marcoon. The fact that Marcoon's been able to at least be involved in that kill despite the deficit. It's only 200 gold. He's nowhere near this bottom lane, and Alyoya is still sticking around.
They're trying to walk it in bot side at the same time. Big wave crashing up towards top, so Marcoon is looking for the gank onto Chasey. Chasey hasn't based in a while, and he's so low.
He's got no ghost available to him. Irrelevant
Bot side
ultimate
too.
not available just yet. Bot lane dive as well. DOS, no sums available. Cocoon lands. Chasey goes all out. Manages to survive long enough for SK to start back.
He's out of there.
Down in the dive in the bottom lane. Kazi's able to pick up the kill onto DOS after he flashed away, and Exekick will be the next juicy target. So incredibly low, and Mad Lion's just waiting for the minions to move forward, dash forward, and the kill secured by Alyoya.
And that's going to be such a big wave that you lose here for Mad Lions. Not only that, you can crash, reset, and try and make sure that you're able to get more control with all that extra damage that you picked up thanks to those kills. Really nice job here from Mad Lions and the Dragon to boot.
But Marcoon just on the wrong side. I mean, trying to dive and kill a Cassante. I understand there's a big wave pushing in. Irrelevant had been struggling in the matchup previous to that big trade he took on the top side. But your bot lane is left out to dry. When it comes to the scope of this game, Sion is irrelevant. It's only down to Xkick. He is the late game carry, and the fact that he's punished so hard in bot side just shows you don't want to trade away from that duo lane.
Also, a lot of that mid-game power from Mad Lions does come from Karzi. So the fact that they've managed to right the wrongs there from Karzi in that bot side is going to help out massively in actually being able to have some sort of impact with this Lucian. If you'd had Marcoon here, it could have been a very different story.
Yeah, I mean, Niski also threatening to move on down, actually gets called off the play. DOS is so low that they're comfortable. DOS also really early on the polymorph. No one's tanking tower, no one's actually used skill shots. He thought he was just going to get one shot by Alyoya, so I understand why he pulled it off, but the only way you stop a dive was with that.
Oh, the stun comes out. Certus forced to flash away. Stays alive long enough despite using that Emperor's Divide. Now in the bottom lane, Marcoon, while that dive in the bottom lane was going on, Marcoon did secure the Rift Herald. This will be dropped nearly instantaneously.
Yeah.
Get the charge off, and if you look at the minimap, Helisang had already started the roam, so not here to support Alyoya and Kazi.
Marcoon trying to punish the roam of Hillisang. Gets a lot of gold off of that Herald, but at the same time, Alyoya is tracking, so there was no option to dive Karzi. Karzi was not isolated in the bot lane. Alyoya is making sure to cover the lanes that are in trouble when Hillisang moves to roam.
I mean, take a look at this, right? 92 CS to 82 in the middle lane. Certus been able to generate a minor advantage. Exekick is up 500 gold for now. Multiple ganks, multiple amounts of pressure applied to try and maintain the lead, but we are dead even in gold at the 10-minute mark.
And I think the big thing here is that SK, because they got that early Rift Herald, are going to be creating Exekick.
Tidal Wave will connect. Kazi a little bit further away. The root comes down, barrier still available to Exekick, throws out the Moonlight Vigil, may be able to at least pick up one kill. Flash used by Hillisang to stay alive, and Kazi runs down Exekick, and then the easy kill for the Mad Lions.
That is an NT if ever I've seen one out of Exekick, but just can't hold his own in the 1 versus 2. He's actually still ahead in gold with the Bloodthirster completed off the back of that one, but it's all starting to fall a bit apart. Gold overall still relatively close to SK, but just play after play, Mad Lions are continuing to find angles.
I think the thing is, though, the goal is even, and the fact as well that you haven't been able to crack open these towers or really get much damage onto these towers is a big win for SK. If you can extend these laning phases out and just keep farming, get to 1.5 items before you leave lane, the damage that Mad Lions can really do is going to be mitigated before your composition comes online.
The thing is, about those compositions, because of how well SK have shown individual plays, individual performances, at least across the first 2 games or so, it is going to be a challenge, I think, for Mad Lions to create those environments and those opportunities to get past the Scion, get past the Emperor's Divide. If SK can just mechanically outplay, their composition will do so much in these 5v5 skirmishes.
SK will continue to scale At the same time, Karzi, the second the ult comes online, you can see him and Hylissang moving around the map. Like, that ult can just one-shot the bullets, do so much damage. Elyoya too, there's a lot of burst on the side of Mad. So anytime they have these windows to move around the map, they're going to try to punish. A great reverse, though, from SK, but they can't quite nail him!
That was beautiful from Exakick. Times it where he's just got enough bullets to get the Gravitum off. Immediately swaps over to the Calibrum, and that's where Nephilios is most dangerous. But Marcoon's in danger, and he's out of there.
Completely blown up, just set up by Elyoya. All out is used by Chasey, continuing to damage out Irrelevant. Still got hundreds of hit points, not really under kill threat for now. But Chasey, as well as Irrelevant, continuing to scale, farming, dead even. It will be important for Irrelevant in the team fights to create the disruption, to create the pressure on the backline, buy time for Certus and Exakick to get the damage down. Exakick still with that lead, nearly 1,000 gold. You have to keep track of his positioning and the damage he's dealing in these fights.
And even though Marcoon just got absolutely exploded, they've got the right idea. Look out, Hylissang. Important ward not to just get instantly deleted like we saw a second ago. But Marcoon now playing towards the right side of his map, camping for Exakick, knowing you have to continue to get him money, get him gold in the pocket. A minute away from a Drake. I think Mad Lions are just going to take any fight they can. At the moment, Elyoya feels so powerful with the Night Harvester finished off 2-0-2. Dark Harvest and Red Smite, so the burst damage is extreme.
You really need to get Exakick on the reset, though. He's been sitting on this BT for a while, a lot of gold in his back pocket, and you've got Dragon now in 30 seconds. DOS.
Oh, that's a lot of damage. The Culling's thrown down as well.
Whoa.
Another engage inside the jungle. Cocoon lands perfectly, and Certus gets himself the kill. Exakick and DOS able to escape with their lives, but Kazi stepping forward, got that Gale Force, and got them chunked out low.
Niski just had 5 seconds left before his flash came off of cooldown. Certus punished him, and now Irrelevant. This is what I was talking about. Get your top laner out of top lane. He wants to dive Mad Lions.
He's coming in from behind. Irrelevant is laning through the Mad Lion side of the rift, but there's no minions to work with. Kazi's been able to clear them out. The Q knocks up a couple. Elyoya is chunked down low. The Soul Furnace almost enough to pick up the kill, but Irrelevant now stepping forward. Zombie mode may be so important. Already got himself 1 kill. The rest of SK looking to take down the tower. Irrelevant stays alive a few seconds longer. The tower is secured, and it will be Irrelevant finally killed. Is there any further follow-up here? SK happy with the kills and the tower and the backing away.
I mean, Irrelevant trading 1-for-1 right there is just 1v9ing because his team just got a turret in the bot lane. Marcoon and Certus were both pushing it, so that turret's low as well.
And I love that we got a preview of things to come. Irrelevant, 30 seconds, just standing with 4 members of Mad Lions around him, and he gets a kill on the way out. This is exactly where SK want to be. And now, with more gold going to Exakick, now you can start to look towards Dragon. You start to look towards the Rift Herald, and the fact that you have so many opportunities to get these key carries ahead, it's coming out tops for SK.
Yeah, Mad Lions are going to be taking this Drake. Looks like SK are prioritizing the Herald for the money you can give them, breaking open some of these turrets. Again, ideas for SK to try and snowball the game forward. It really does come down to like how can they play around the Cocoon, finding picks in enemy jungle, things like this, finishing off the turrets on the opposite side of the map. And again, as these turrets continue to fall, that gives more and more room over for Irrelevant to look for those roam timings. It's been something missing from SK, is him shifting down with the rest of his team. But that was a really good look at what he is capable of when he does decide to move in.
I actually thought Marcoon was immediately going to move up topside here, but it doesn't matter. SK just get to take this tower without the help of the Rift Herald. So suddenly now you can start to set up a play in the mid lane, get that turret, have Irrelevant try and roam down once more once that ultimate comes up and available. Marcoon having that Night Harvester now means his threat under this tower, his burst damage, is absolutely absurd. So Mad Lions need to be very careful about how they're positioning around the map, because SK are going to look to outnumber them wherever they possibly can.
I think it might be nice for Marcoon just to sort of hold on to the Herald for the time being. Mid lane tower is very low. They should be able to get that at some point. But what Marcoon can do, and he's actually done before in this series, is Mad Lions are constantly looking for angles they can group up for something. Having the Herald on the other side in a different lane gives you the ability to threaten multiple towers against them and punish Mad Lions for trying to make a play.
And for SK now, with the 2,000 gold lead, with the Rift Herald available to be used, they need to excel in this mid-game. Throughout the series, Mad Lions have, I think, generated more advantages, have been able to play more successfully around the Rift once it's opened up. And it's up to SK to turn this one around. Step further forward. They get themselves the 3rd and final outer turret, and that is huge for opening up the Mad Lions jungle.
Especially for SK, because they really struggle to actually play on side lanes. Azir doesn't really want to be there. Irrelevant doesn't really have push. So the fact you can now set up vision through mid-push into sides and make sure that Certus and Irrelevant can be safe means you get to buy space. You get to buy deep vision as well for the likes of Dragon that's going to be up in 3 minutes, because that is the break point here for SK. That's the thing they're looking at.
Honestly, I think SK jumped the gun on that Rift Herald. They had full prio over side lanes. They brought 5 players into mid. It was 5 versus 3, and they still had to use that to kill a turret on a 3rd HP. Not fully convinced by that. That being said, Mad Lions do have insane wave clear, right? When it comes to the Victor and the AP Gragas in the jungle, like that is absolutely no joke in future Siege situations.
I think it's just a so short range. I'd be terrified of a barrel or a flash engage from ITA into someone, and you just don't have the chance before you're blown up.
It's just without Niski and Chasey there, I don't know. I think it maybe could have been used to try and break a tier 2.
I mean, if you look at the minimap for now, 1-3-1 at 17.5 minutes. We're 2 minutes to go until the next dragon. Mad Lions have already got 2 underneath their belts, so we're looking at SK. How do they play these side lanes? How do they apply pressure? And can they actually, you know, pull Mad Lions out of position and use that Elise or use that Scion to set up a pick? For now, it is still just stuck in this sort of sterile laning phase. Advantages for Irrelevant, for Certus, for Exekick. They're all up 700 gold, 700 gold, 1,000 gold. And SK have got the scaling on their side as well. So they're in a great position in Game 4, looking to take us to Game 5.
So one thing that is nice for Mad Lions, as they are the ones currently on the back foot, is actually because of the role we got in terms of the map type with the dragon and it being infernal, it's actually way harder for SK to set up inside Mad Lions enemy jungle. If we could go over to Mad Lions blue buff right now, ask our lovely observers to send us there. Because of the openness of the terrain, not breaking lines of sight, because of the lack of bushes as well, when the main pick tool from SK is just a cocoon, usually an Elise has to be inside of a brush or behind a wall where they have vision over it to actually try and set up a pick. You can see it right here. So they have this bush really to play with, and then it's very hard to actually continue to push in. So as we look forward to future Drakes, which we know Mad Lions already have 2, they want to try to play to find a soul. It is not so simple for SK to take full control of the enemy jungle like we've seen both teams do in previous games.
And potentially the silver lining of this Rift, Scion may be able to do the speedway turns just a touch more, whether or not he can find the members of Mad Lions to engage on. You saw SK pushing some vision into Mad Lions jungle. That has been contested and challenged, and it is Mad now setting up. They were the first ones into the river. 45 seconds until the dragon spawns, and it's all about mid lane control.
Chasey dropped topside. They really want to find the 5v5 before they get into river. SK haven't had the reset for Exekick. He's still on 1.5 items.
Remember, that Gragas barrel will be huge. Certus has got the Emperor's Divide available, dancing on the edge of safety. Irrelevant and Exekick need to sidestep outside of that gravity field. Culling is dropped by Kazi, but the Sand Soldiers putting out so much damage.
Mad Lions have superior wave clear, so they were able to push through, but now SK sacrificing their health bar so they can hit the wave first. That's big for them if they can move in, but I think Marcoon's just too low. This Drake might just go over to Mad Lions.
Oh, this is very scary. Still looking for that fight. The Moonlight Vigil fired out from Exekick. Red Blue Gun stepping forward, threatening the Mad Lions members. And all of a sudden at 20 minutes, Baron is up. Do SK pull the trigger?
I love this. I love this. Karzi's basing right now. He's not actually hitting Drake. SK trying to buy time for Marcoon to base, threaten moving over to Dragon or Baron, so Mad Lions decide to cancel the Drake attempt. We're straight back into a Dragon dance.
This was beautiful. SK Gaming put Mad Lions on a leash, pulled them away from the Dragon Side River, and once they were in the mid lane, just repositioned. Now SK, do they start off this Dragon? It is still 5 versus 5. Elyoya is on the side lane, has the ability to engage with the ultimate, but it's Irrelevant. That's forced to flash away. He engages in the front line. Marcoon does not find the cocoon, and all of a sudden, the bubble throws up Irrelevant. He's slowed down in place, but Exekick is stepping forward. He's got the AoE, he's got the white blue guns, and it's not enough damage just yet.
The chunk is so bad, Niski gets knocked up, but he's still alive. Elyoya turns it straight around. He finds Exekick, but Exekick is free firing. White gun is shredding Mad Lions. SK all the way.
They have dominated Mad inside the river. The wild growth onto Exekick did so much work, and Certus finds another. 4 members of the Mad Lions are down.
Screw the dragon, it's Baron time for SK. Game 4 delivers, and SK are hitting Mad Lions hard.
What a turn there from SK. Exekick pumping out out so much damage in that fight. It looks like maybe he was going to be the one caught out, but just holds his ground and fires back the Bloodthirster, keeping him topped up for long enough that the rest of the team could clean up.
Both of the teams were looking for the fight. They were committed to the 5v5, and ultimately it was SK that was able to land the damage and to withstand any of the potential prots that Mad Lions are throwing out.
And I love Irrelevant's positioning here. Carzzy has no ultimate, so as long as Irrelevant is taking Carzzy's attention, he can't really help out. So Exakick, as long as he stays away from the Victor ult there, is going to be fine. And the second Irrelevant moves up once more, Exakick steps up with him, and eventually Certus getting involved here as well. Uyoya missing the cast, and Exakick following up Irrelevant so incredibly well here.
Certus was not doing a lot of damage at the start of the fight. He was just waiting for that moment. He was hiding so far back. He was, I think, in the fog of war for a lot of that fight, while Exkick was doing all the damage. But all it took was one angle to hit two players with the Shurima Shuffle, finding a third on the back as well, and SK just got slingshotted ahead.
They've got themselves the Infernal Dragon. They got themselves the Baron. Now they are looking to take the inner mid lane turret. While that is being sieged, Certus, with the help of Marcoon in the bottom lane, they're going to apply pressure down there. Now, Neski, while he is pushing top lane, got that teleport available to him, needs to figure out whether or not Mad Lions want to stand and defend, because SK have got a gigantic advantage, starting to group up. It looks like they want to siege the middle lane.
Yeah, Exakick is still here with Irrelevant, so he's totally fine. Marcoon now starting to move across. That's a catch!
The
Onto
Cocoon catches Carzzy. He's forced to use the cleanse, starting to back away. Carzzy has still got that flash available to him. So does Exakick, so does DOS. The inhibitor will be secured. And Certus, can he find some damage here onto Chasey? Sand just thrown out. Niski, by the way, is still pressuring that top lane.
Trying to get that objective bounty at the same time. Chasey clears away the minion wave. So SK can't play off of that to try and secure yet another inhibitor tower. But look at this. Niski in a lot of trouble. Might have to teleport out of that with Marcoon sprinting his way over, and he'll be safe.
It looks like he'll just get out in the nick of time. Uses that teleport though, which is another advantage to SK. So super minions in the middle lane. They've got control of the Rift, 2.5 minutes until the next dragon spawns, and SK are in a position to take over.
I will say though, what could have been lost for Mad Lions there was pretty minimized by that play. The fact it's only mid lane inhibitor that goes down is pretty defendable. You've got Carzzy, you can continue to push that one out. You still got control of your side lanes, and it's very easy if you have the minions in mid lane to still leave for a dragon, to still move across for a Baron. So all said and done, I think Mad Lions were pretty happy that that didn't go worse.
Well, Exakick is looking to pick a fight here with Chase. He finds the route. Multiple members of Mad Lions chasing the SK squad through the river. Now, does Irrelevant fancy himself and engage? 2 seconds until his ultimate is available. Mad Lions, they are at risk of being flanked, are at risk of being surrounded.
But there's no Exakick. There's no AD carry for SK.
Hillis
They're still going for it.
A little bit late to the party here. The Unstoppable Onslaught comes out, the culling as well. Irrelevant gets some damage down as Niski's forced to move himself north. Nobody goes down just yet. The tower not secured either. And Exakick is now continuing to chase. Chasey is going to vote Gale Force for for the kill as well. And now looking to secure the tower. Yet another advantage. It's a 40-second death time now.
It's not every day you see the AD carry become the split push threat. Exkick taking matters into his own hands. The rest of SK, the reinforcements have arrived.
Keep in mind, no flash for Exakick. He used it to secure that kill. Ayoya's barrels allowing Mad Lions to pick up the kill onto Marcoon. They will defend that inhibitor turret, but it's another kill. It's another objective. It's a minute until the next dragon.
And 30 seconds until Marcoon comes up. Chasey will have the TP to get there. Mad Lions can actually establish themselves in river and make it a little bit more difficult for SK to come into position. As long as they control the chokes into river, they should be able to utilize Chasey, Niski having good Zoe control, and same with Hilly.
What do you think of Exakick flashing for that kill? I think it looks great. It says a lot about his mentality and his mindset, but I am nervous about it not being available for the next fight.
It would have been worth it if Marcoon hadn't gone down. If you're able to actually get that inhibitor on the bot side, that's the play. But unfortunately now, with Marcoon going down, it does look a little bit suspect. Infinity Edge picked up from, though, is huge. That's such a big pickup for the Aphelios.
Both AD carries just finished off the IEs. Even down 2k, Carzzy doesn't have the Berserker Greaves, I suppose, but has still managed to get up to 3 items. Mid lane as well. I mean, in terms of itemization, top lane's where the real gap is too. I suppose you could say support with DOS, having the Mikhail's. Mikhail's a really nice pickup to have here to make sure Exkick has that pocket cleanse. to get him out of a tough situation. I think Mad Lions just gonna have to give this one up, soak up the extra EXP they're grabbing from the super minions, just barreling down mid lane. They're in this one for the long haul.
So in terms of the state of the game, 27 minutes, it's about a 4,000 gold lead. For Mad Lions, team fights are way more nuanced, a little bit more challenging than just the straight up like front to back that SK are putting forward. How on earth do Mad Lions either set up or play out the inevitable 5v5s?
I think the thing is you don't really have dive to get back onto X-Kick or onto Certus, unless, again, Elyoya is somehow finding a miracle pick where he's ulting them back into the rest of the team, but I don't think that's very realistic, especially on Infernal map, when you do not have control over the game. So that's kind of gone for them. Instead, their focus has to be, how do we actually kill this Scion? Because that's the target that's going to be presenting it themselves to the Mad Lions front line, and in that sense, they have a lot of good interrupts for the SK backline. When it comes to Elyoya's ultimate to sort of separate Irrelevant from his backline, that's a great tool. The Tide Away from Hillsing, another one where it has a lot of reach. It can hit the enemy backline, even if Mad Lions can't follow up onto it. So I think for them, again, it's how do we isolate the Scion for long enough that we can kill him, but I still don't think that's super realistic for them.
We're gonna find out right now as Irrelevant is standing on the front
nearly
line.
got the shield.
Certus is pushing that top lane.
It's close.
Got himself the ability to teleport in if he wants to. Starts the recall. Does he finish the death cap? I think he might just about do it. As all of a sudden Irrelevant goes forward to the unstoppable onslaught. The death cap is picked up by Certus. Can have a huge impact on this fight. Not going to be able to find any of the CC just yet. Elyoya throws out the explosive cards. It does naught to stop SK. An exit kick on the front foot. Looking to take down JCN. He does. The bubble not going to be enough just yet as Kazi's dropped below half HP. But DOS and Exa pushing it forward once again. They need to find Mad Lions. Elyoya buys some
Kazi!
And Irrelevant gonna be able to trade back and forth. But with Kazi and Exa kick down, Irrelevant's the last man standing. Certus stepping forward, looking to hunt Hilly. It's so far a 3-for-3. The slide, the glide, the Sand Soldier chunking down Hilly. He's got the flash available to him and will not use it. It's SK with a 4-for-3 fight.
SK come out victorious, but it's such a close fight. Kazi comes out of nowhere and keeps it close. Regardless, though, SK show that you cannot kill Irrelevant. This man is on a different level.
And it only gets worse. You're going to have Exakik get stronger. You're going to have Certus getting stronger. Kazi is starting to teeter off now. And yes, he's going towards the Lord Dominic's, but what the hell does that do against Irrelevant at this stage?
That was about the best opportunity Mad Lions have had, and they were still shut down by Certus in the back line.
Mad Lions use all the interrupt. Look at this. So Cass goes out, knocks Escape back. Not back enough, though. That's a bit of a miss. Also, Tidal Wave hits him, and also Certus teleported in late to the fight, and still they take Irrelevant down to half HP, and then they have to run. All their cooldowns are gone. They're outranged, they're outgunned, they're outmanned. Nothing can happen. I think that Marcoon was taken low, and the stopwatch was nice from them, but there's a slight overstep. Exakik feels himself jumping on forward, but then Kazi sees this angle over the wall. The turnaround as well was really nice.
I think getting caught out by the ward in the bush, wasn't expecting the pink ward to be there, so ends up getting taken down. Still though, Exakik now will have his flash open just now for this.
Just a few more seconds as Irrelevant starts the fight in the mid lane. Chasey will be a little bit late coming in from the jungle. Hilly forced to flash for his life. DOS is the only member of SK that's hurting right now. And Mad Lions are split up and routed. It's Chasey forced to use the ultimate, get some distance. And SK have got control of the mid lane. They have got control of the fight, and they are moving towards the Baron.
And Scion is so dumb. What is this? You can't kill him!
This is why it's been banned. Every single game this series, Irrelevant brings it out, and you know it's going back to the ban table if we get to another game.
Irrelevant's gonna flash, looking for Kazi. The bubble from Hilly buys some time, but Exakik, Gale forces in to pick up Hilly's Nami. And it's keep it simple, SK. The composition is clear on how it wants to move forward, how it wanted to team fight at 30 minutes in. SK Gaming are looking to set up their second Baron completely uncontested. A minute until the next Dragon. And Certus once again having a huge impact. 4-0-5 on the Sazir, thanks to all of the time that his team is buying him in these fights.
He's had some big fights, and for Irrelevant, regardless of how impossible it is to kill him, this guy has been finding so many opportunities, whether it was the insane roam down into bot lane all the way from top sitting between the towers, or the multiple team fights, he's just gone, right? If he sees anyone 2 feet away from a turret, instantly jumping on them with the ultimate. He is always pressing that go button for SK, and there's a big step up compared to when he was running off of the stage after game 3.
I mean, right now, SK Gaming looking to force us to game 5. Just want to give you guys a bit of history here. It was 712 days since SK had made it to playoffs, and it's been 2,892 days since they were in the top 4. This young roster this season is finally finding success that they haven't seen since, what, 2015?
Yeah, 2015, if they win this game and they make it to top 3, it'll be an absolute stormer for them as well. Niski in trouble now is irrelevant. Just goes out.
Being run down by this top laner. The Soul Furnace shield, the burst damage is out. Niski is continuing to at least buy some time.
Niski can win this.
There is a teleport being used inside the jungle as Certus may look to flank with the help of Marcoon. Niski has enough damage but will not be able to survive long enough. Irrelevant is taken down. He ends up being the 1-for-1 in the top lane.
It's worth for the moral victory, if not the shutdown, right there for Niski to get 600 gold in the bank too, speed running towards that Rabadon Zeph cap.
I will actually say, though, the fact that now you don't have that tanky front line could be an opportunity for Mad Lions. If Alyoya, with this flash up soon, can get onto someone like Exakick, maybe you can slow the progress, but it feels like you're only buying time. There isn't really any big objectives that they can take right.
20 seconds before Irrelevant is up. He's got the TP available, and Hillsang is just blasted down. Stays alive a few seconds longer. Wild growth is needed for Exakick to stay alive because he is dropped inside his base. Chasey is moving forward, but does not have the damage to take down Exakick, and SK Gaming will bounce back. SK Gaming will force us to a game 5.
Never mind, Exakick is the other tank, so SK just decide to barrel through and will manage to take us to a game 5. Blue side is OP.
4 games in a row, the blue side has come out victorious, and the second time that SK has shut down the Mad Lions. They are styling in the final seconds of play, fountain diving for the ace, and we're going all the way. Game 5, Silver Scrapes, SK versus Mad Lions.
What a way to kick off finals weekend. SK showing up with their backs against the wall. Our closest game, I think, of the series, fighting tooth and nail through it. But once they got a lead, they never let go.
And they played it so well. Focusing on the early heralds, making sure that they're able to get those gold into the right people and stopping this game from being run away with by Mad Lions. And eventually we called it relevant, unkillable. 3 items come through. SK barrel over Mad Lions.
It feels to me like the draft has such a gigantic influence on how SK are able to play out or generate those leads. The Zeri Lulu from earlier in the series, crucial in picking up their wins. The Sion Azir, crucial this time round. SK have to do something that no team has done yet today, find a way to win on the red side, and that is going to be a puzzle that they don't have a lot of time to figure out. That is, of course, presuming Mad Lions pick blue.
Yeah, we know Mad Lions are going to
case.
pick blue. Like, that's just how it's going to go down at the end of the day. Everyone wanting that first pick option, but honestly, I'm a little bit shocked with SK showing up after that. I think they showed a lot of creativity. Irrelevant unlocked himself on the map, which was such a big glow up. They are adapting, they are evolving throughout this series, and that makes them fierce coming into game 5.
How do they handle the game 5 pressure, the experience advantages with the Mad Lions? We're going to head to the analyst desk to break down game 4.
Thank you very much indeed. Silver Scrapes, we have 3 best of 5s this weekend, and the first one already hitting Silver Scrapes. I think I'm liking where this is going, but
In game 3, it was that Jax, Sejuani, and Zeri banned away by Mad Lions, and they've answered the question. Sion, first ban here on the blue side.
All right, that answers that. So then, does the Jax drop? I don't think so. That's been pretty consistent for them. So then I'm thinking the Zeri potentially drops and is left open. SK also, I didn't think we would see a Nautilus ban, perhaps, because Maokai, Elise, Ashe are all options. We're probably getting one of those champions let through.
Okay, still gonna get the Zeri. I assume they were like, okay, chances are it'd be the Zeri that's dropped. Let's ban the Nautilus so we don't get the Draven Nautilus lane coming through. Maokai's still there. So are they just going to let the Elise through and go, hey, look, as long as we can keep ourselves safe, we'll be fine. Maybe they can have a better time. Or is it going to be the Ashe that actually managed to finally make its way through one of these drafts?
Question is, who do you think you can contain more, Alyoya or Hellesang? Aphelios will be banned away, denying that option to Exakick. So now we're going to find out, will the Elise or the Ashe be the priority picks? It also means that Jax will be open and available, a consideration for the top lane, but So many different questions, and SK have to figure out, do they try a composition that hasn't found success this series, or just go for that front to back? It'll be the Ash Band.
There you go. Elise left open, expecting that to come in first. Marcoon potentially responding with that Dark Harvest Gragas as the counter that we've seen twice already in this series. But I have to say that the thing I love most about best of fives, and you don't see this in BO1s, but over the course of a series, how like the signature pocket picks of different players get respect banned so early. The Nautilus from Hillisang, the Scion from Irrelevant, and now executes a Felios on top.
I feel like here, though, you try and pick up this Jax. I was thinking you actually go Jax Sejuani, because the big thing is you want to try and get comfort for Irrelevant. You don't want that Jax to just slip through the bad phase again. But also, I think if you're going to go for something like this, more bruiser carry in the top side, having engage on a Sejuani becomes very, very important.
Now, does Kazi feel the Draven once more? It was the Draven Nautilus into the Lucian Nami in game 3. Instead,
Okay.
it's going to insta-lock there the Gragas as well as the Jace.
That's wild. Still leaving the option to switch those between solos. Technically, Hilly could always take the Gragas down onto the bottom side, but that puts SK in a really tough spot, because do you take the Jax as an answer? Okay, maybe you're playing into a Jace, maybe not so fun to play melee versus range, but also you need your jungler, or that's going to get double banned on the opposite side. And with Gragas off the table as well, the Sejuani is a natural solution for SK, but that means that once again, Irrelevant will be double banned. I'm almost sure that the Jax will be taken away by Mad Lions, unless Chasey just wants to play that matchup straight up.
I feel like you just get rid of the Jax here, make it easy on yourself, because I think Chasey has answers in things like the Fiora, but certainly this team fighting comps have been the way forward, and I think going back towards that is probably going to be your best bet, especially when you've already got the Gragas and the Jace. You've already got that flexibility there, you just want to stick with it. So let's see exactly how we go. Varus going to be taken off the board, though. A lot of pressure on towards Carry to see exactly what he does want to bring out, because hell of a lot of AD carry bans here.
And of course, the big question for me is whether or not Niski will be running that Gragas again. He did his first ever professional game on the champion earlier this series, had a great impact. SK not banning either of those solo lanes just yet. Varus, and waiting for their final one, it will be the Draven as well. So Kazi's going to be pushed a little bit lower down that priority list. You've got the likes of Siva, the likes of Ezreal, maybe even another option available to him. But for Mad Lions now, they will at least get one of these solo lanes locked in for SK, and then figure out where does that Gragas and that Jace decide to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we could reverse all the way back to game 1 and maybe play a Sivir Karma down on the bot side for Mad Lions. I also think the Caitlyn is something that could come through potentially. Fell off a lot compared to the last weeks, but with the Elise setting up for early dives is a possibility.
I'd actually love an Ezreal Karma here, where I think you actually just go all in on the poke, right? You get the Jace, you get the Ezreal that can do relatively well, should be fine on the bottom side, and then you can actually have an opportunity to set up well for these fights, try and play around the relatively short range that this composition SK has once Lucian doesn't have that color.
Take a look at this Renekton, by the way. First time this series here for Irrelevant. It's his second most played champion. He's got 13 games, but a win rate of only 38% is definitely going to be one of those champions that can run away with the game, especially if Marcoon decides to gank top, put some time and pressure onto him, which is what Marcoon did in the second game against Vitality, getting Irrelevant ahead and unlocking the win through the top lane.
And it's interesting to see, because you do essentially end up counterpicking yourself with the Renekton going into the Gragas, but Hilly and also the Tristana here for Karzi. This is going to be we want to all in every second that we can, and Elyoya, we're going to need help from you to do that.
I mean, the Rel set up for a Gragas cast to pull them all in and knock them whichever direction you want. We finish off the draft with DOS locking in the Zoe for Certus to rock in the mid lane as well. Niski looked so powerful on that champ at the start of the game, and I'm almost expecting Niski to hold on to the Jace here in mid lane. I think the Gragas is just going to play a little bit more passively towards the top side of the map, because I'm a little concerned what you could do. But at the same time, if you want to set up to early dive Renekton, Jace top side makes a ton of sense.
We need Certus, though, to actually get control over this mid lane and do what Niski did in the zone, where he's roaming bot, making sure that Exekick and DOS are safe. Surprised, though, honestly, actually, I thought we were going to see the Jace in the mid lane, because for me, Gragas just does so well into Renekton, and you can still have that Jace being able to play for skirmishes, but it is actually going to be the swap around.
Yeah, I think it has to be because Mad Lions want to play a more topside focused game. Like, yes, you can gank bot lane, you have the Rel to try and help set up, but this is going to be punished central on Irrelevant, some revenge from game 4 if they can set it up.
And it is another example of the Mad Lions doing something that we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot. We haven't necessarily tasted that Tristana, that Rel. I mean, Hillisang's got, I think, like 10 or so games on the champion. That's the first time we're seeing him pull it out. In terms of how this early game will play out, the Elise from Elyoya into Markoon Sejuani, the champion that Markoon is still undefeated on. Can he have an impact? Can he prevent Mad Lions from closing out the series? Welcome to Summoner's Rift for Game 5. Mad Lions versus SK Gaming. Mad Lions once again grouped up as a 5-strong in the bottom lane. No champions available to them though, as SK are playing defensively up around that mid lane.
I mean, this is a really good call. Hilly going to be really good on the engages, and you can always go for something sneaky like this where you hop in over the wall. Even the fact that you could try and get vision down on this bottom side to try and set up so you can always go for that early all-in. Hilly will be spotted by Exakick here though, and they know the Mad Lions are in the bot side.
Yeah, we're potentially looking for a wraparound there if anyone was camped inside of that brush. X-Kick playing far back enough that he's going to be okay. Now, options are on the other side of the map for SK to walk in and place down a ward. I like warding up the Raptors from Certus, trying to track this Elise in the early game, because so often you'll see these Elises start on their red side camps, clear away 3, and then you've got red buff, and you're instantly looking to influence one of the lanes.
I mean, already you've got a lot of pressure up onto this top side. Again, I think I'm looking at how Mad Lions want to try and play this early level. The Rel, very similar to the Nautilus in that you really need to get this early game going. Early levels is where you want to try and find your advantages. Otherwise, the poke is going to become too much on those later stages. So Dawson Exakick hiding just away from Hilly in that bot side.
And of course, we saw Hillisang completely take over the game earlier this series on that Nautilus. Landing engage after engage. He started with that W, got the crash down available, will land it onto Exakick. Rocket jump forward from Kazi. The damage trade is high and it's cleanse for Exakick already used. Flash away from Kazi. Exakick picks up first blood. A fight that Mad Lions started. Now Hilly's the focus, the target, and he's simply not got enough damage. Forced to flash over the wall, and it's SK that win.
Just a wild all in there. Karzi taking W at level 1, maybe a chance to reset that and get a second, but the lack of damage there absolutely punished. Chasey takes a great trade on the top side of the map, but it's also Karzi playing with cleanse. Like they don't have as much to try and go for this early all-in.
Especially when you have that heal, the ignite to try and start the all-in. Cleanse immediately, you got the extra heal there for Doss, so an extra summoner spell to go to use in that bottom side. Now Karzi back in lane, big wave pushing in towards Exakick means he'll be able to catch that just as he gets back to lane.
Yeah, we're going to be able to pick up that additional longsword as well as the refillable pots, and maybe going to hold off just for a moment or two. Hillisang, once again, starting this this match off very aggressively, very forward-facing. Unfortunately for him, messing up that first engage. Elyoya looking for the level 3 tower dive, flash away from Irrelevant, the Q in the minion wave. The repel will reset the aggro, and that was just beautiful from Elyoya.
Very nicely played. Can't say that was too shocking there. 3 camps into looking for a top lane dive. Irrelevant will TP back, so we won't lose too many minions off of that. But Markoon pathing top to bot, sort of forsaking his own top laner here to make sure he can stick around this bot side, which you have to remember is so volatile now that Niski wanted to walk into River to see if he could spot Markoon and give his team some info.
But the problem now is that Karzi and Hilly are way overextended bot side. They don't get to crash the wave again. Having the lack of a range support here is hurting them. Exakick and Dot's going to slow build this wave and be in a great spot for, say, something like the Dragon that's spawning in a minute's time.
Something that can happen over the next few minutes is if Hillisang decides to roam and try to move around to help out Elyoya or try to gank those other lanes, the AoE from this Tristana can sit in a lane a little bit alone. It's not seen Hillisang roaming too much throughout this series. It's definitely not as much as we've seen throughout the regular season and group stage, primarily because there's just been so much action, so much fighting, and Markoon is backing up Dawson Exakick for now. Elyoya is relatively close by the Krugs.
There's nothing really for Elyoya to do after the Krugs, so it's either bot lane gank, maybe a mid lane gank, something like this. Markoon in a really good position to set up the counter, knowing this big wave is building. This time he's here to support. And this has been classic. Markoon covering for the lanes that are shoving on in here, because they guided on in, but walking over the ward, I don't think Mad Lions are going to want to take this fight.
They're not. Exakick, however, will dash all the way forward. Kazi's low, below 300, but it's Exakick that's the focus. Exakick that's the target. Exakick that is down. The reset and the W, the reset again, and Kazi is chasing chasing out DOS. 2 quick kills to the Mad Lions.
Chasey killed Irrelevant too, by the way.
Yeah, you had the lead. Exit kick, you just needed to play it safe. Just crash the wave, reset, and you're fine. But now, as you say it, kills him bot. Chasey takes over top, and what was a great start has fallen to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, that balling gank was not going to work unless Exit Kick just full sent it into them like he did right there. And Mad Lions absolutely punish off that, even knowing Marcoon was in the area. At the same time, just the fact that Elyoya only needs the 1 gank on top side so that Chasey can sprint away with this matchup is absolutely huge. Irrelevant just used both slice and dice and got murdered.
I mean, think back to the last time Chasey played this Jace in the top lane. He had such a huge impact. Fantastic damage throughout the course of the game. And he's already 2-0 up, got a 12 CS advantage, nearly 1,000 gold lead. And that is just going to be even more difficult for this Renekton to play out.
Especially as he starts to take plates, Elyoya realizes that if you can get Chasey ahead, play for Rift Tower with this big Jace, it's going to become nigh on impossible for SK to play, especially since Renekton's big pick is supposed to be a plane for Rift Tower.
Niski's also roaming up here, and Lacertus may be a little late to the party. Cocoon connects, and that is just melted.
They want more.
Cannot stand in front of his tower. Marcoon sent running for his life. Certus too late to the party. 5 kills to 1 and a 2,000 gold lead.
Look at the entire shift, by the way, from the Mad Lions. The bot lane even moved up, so it was this huge rotation towards the top side of the map because they had full prio over bot lane. They're going to lose a couple of minions to that tower, but making sure they were always going to be in a position to show up, pick up the wave that Niski was sacrificing in mid as he was rotating towards the top side of the map. Mad Lions are back to rotational form.
And you now got 3 kills on towards Chasey, 4 kills potentially as Elyoya will find Irrelevant. Can't get to the safety of his tower, so again, losing more and more of these creeps. You need to get Certus unlocked and moving topside with Marcoon here.
It's so bad that the support and AD carry were moving up towards the top side of the map in case Chasey and Elyoya stuck around, because they could have easily, if they wanted to, stood between the 2 towers and never allowed Irrelevant to farm a minion. Now they respect bot lane's missing. We do need to back away, but it's forcing these moves from SK just to stay alive.
And the barrel comes out. Certus is pinned against the wall, but Hilly's in range. Flash used to keep Certus in safety, and Kazi steps forward, not going to be able to land those autos. But again, it's this proactive play. Mad Lions moving around the map.
Oh my God.
Has got a stun. He's got Certus locked in place, and Certus will at least get a small heal for now. The body slam does it.
The juke.
He finds another.
Oh my God, Niski avoiding the bubble there as well. Hillisang is a player that just sees kills. He sees red and he always takes the fight. Sometimes it hurts, but sometimes it just allows his team to run away with the
And
game.
he didn't even have the Magna Storm for that particular engage, just finding the opportunity, holding Certus in place long enough for Niski to follow up. 6 kills to 1. Another early dragon goes the way of Mad Lions. And for SK, this is an incredibly scary place to be because the composition from Mad can be used again and again and again. The tower dives are great. The initiation tools are great.
But it's Mad Lions really playing as a pack. Niski every time is finding these opportunities to roam, get up towards topside, support his team. Certus hasn't been able to keep pace. Hilly roaming towards the mid lane to help out Niski as well. This is where it's a I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and Mad Lions are playing so well, so proactively. Now, SK should be able to get this if they're quick, but Chasey will spot.
A little bit of threat from Chasey. Can use that accelerated shock blast to look for at least a steal, and won't be able to do it this time around. The Rift Herald is a big pickup here for SK because some plates can help make up this deficit they find themselves in. But they cannot afford to keep being killed. They cannot afford to concede more gold and more of an advantage to the Mad Lions. I mean, that top lane has already been swapped out. Take a look. Irrelevant's made his way down bottom, and Exit Kick is up in the top lane as Kazi is swapping to match.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a good opportunity. Both side lanes have prio now for SK. They could use that pressure to make something happen on the map, but the bot lane needed a reset. X-Kick went back to base, so Irrelevant is just going to hang out in the bot lane. And this is where you can sometimes lose out the windows if you don't have like the proactive playmaking champions around you. They don't use that tempo to push in and do much of anything. So now that swings back over to the Mad Lions. You can see Hillsang inside the enemy jungle. Big wave building up. They want to dive this Lucian, and there's no one to save the Lucian. This Lucian's just going to get exploded.
And Chasey spotted out the play on bot side. This is really well orchestrated. Mad Lions now pushing Exekick and DOS away. The problem that you have for SK, because Irrelevant is so far behind, you're always on a ticking time bomb with Chasey as he approaches a tower. You need multiple members to deal with them. So Mad Lions are just playing to the opposite side, using that big lead Chasey has to force plays elsewhere.
Alyoya is just living inside Mad Lions jungle, consistently forcing SK to give up minions, to give up that gold and that experience. And despite the fact that they are a little bit outnumbered, they have enough of an advantage that SK cannot really contest. 3 plates we're taking in that top lane, 2 plates in the mid lane, and that little ward the observers showed it just a moment or two ago allowed Mad Lions all the information they needed to consistently apply this forward pressure.
As SK are running around trying to play some cleanup here, Mad Lions just continue to get vision. That's a big sleep, though.
What's the rest of the commit? Locked in place by the prison, and Portal Star not going to be enough damage. Niski survives. Cocoon catches onto Marcoon, and it's Irrelevant trying to get one back. He's got a small HP advantage. The hammer comes down. The slice and dice and the knock back will keep Chasey alive for now. So no kill in the mid lane, and Irrelevant not able to pick that up either.
Mad are going towards top side, and again, you're going to see Exekick and DOS have to step away. Oh, maybe they don't have time, though.
That's a lot of damage already put down onto DOS. Tidal wave through the shot out as well as the buster shot. Rocket jump forward, but here comes Alyoya. Exekick not going to commit the flash. Cleanse will be used to at least escape for now. Dashes away to safety, and Hilly has got that Magnet Storm available. Does he fancy the tower dive? The answer is no for now, but it does look like Niski's making his way top as well.
A little bit too much there. Hylissang could try to threaten a dive, but I think the health bars are too low to pull that one off. I say that, though. Exekick and DOS have been isolated away. The recalls do end up coming through, and it looks like nothing's going to come from it.
So this is a similar pattern to previous games this series, where when Mad Lions are in an advantageous position, they continue to look for those kills, to dive, to invade the enemy jungle. But they cannot get caught up. They cannot afford to make mistakes on those engages, because that is where SK can claw back this deficit. Yes, it is gigantic at this moment in time, but obviously they're playing on the very, very edge of safety there, Jacta.
The problem that they're having, though, is you just don't really get control over side lanes at any point in time. Alyoya is still stronger when it comes towards the jungle matchup. He's got so much extra gold, and also the fact as well that he is the Elise, so Marcoon is trying to avoid him. But you're still playing to a very, very weak side of the map. Exekick and DOS should be at least able to get some turret plates for themselves as well, but it's not enough to really give themselves a mid-game where they can fight toe-to-toe against Mad right now.
Not now. The Rift Herald has been dropped. Hylissang does it! Locking in 3 members of SK, but they will at least get themselves 1 kill back. Kazi and Exa traded back and forth for one another. The Ferromancy from Hilly sets up a second. Chasey's got his 4th of the game, and Niski may be able to find more. The barrel will actually knock Certus to safety, but Alyoya, he's hunting, looks for the cocoon, lands it onto Certus. The tidal wave buys some time, but DOS is being hammered away. Another kill for Chasey. Irrelevant teleports in and will be shut down. A big chunk of gold going into Certus. The slice, the dice. Irrelevant not really going to be able to find anything more on Niski.
Mad Lions' mid lane collapse have just been absolutely devastating, forcing Irrelevant to use the teleport as well, just to trade 1-for-1 at the very back end of the fight. Notice it, though, SK are the first ones back onto the map. They have priority over this Drake. I'm not sure Mad Lions are in a perfect position to fight this. Again, Chasey's dead, no TP on him. So even though Mad Lions come ahead in the fight, it's SK with control on the Dragon.
I think when you look at the advantage right now, 2,200 ahead of his opposite number. Chasey has got a gigantic 40 CS lead. He's going to be one of the players that can use that poke damage to ensure any future objectives go the way of Mad Lions. Unfortunately, because of those death timers and the fact that they were a little out of position, SK will at least sneak one of these dragons, giving them the potential of a little bit more time.
This looked really good to start off from Mad with that engage, but watch as Karzi goes to jump in, Marcoon gets the knock away, which prevents Karzi from actually being able to follow up. They get the kill onto him, and that's where it starts to go a little bit sideways. You still get Exekick here, you still get Chasey who's able to come through, but very deep on the play as Marcoon will fall. You get the follow-up coming through with the TP from the Renekton, and it's just, at this stage, I think cut your losses, take a play, be happy with this. You'd already invested so much on Mad Lions to make this play happen.
Well, SK are going to be hunting for an initiation. 4 versus 3 for now. Chasey manages to flash away to safety, or dash away to safety rather. Hilly will get taken out, so SK find themselves a pick and punish Mad Lions for just being grouped up.
Perfect. 4 versus 3 in the mid lane. Both the Gragas was in base, the Tristana was in bot lane. This is what Mad Lions just did to SK. Abused them with numbers in mid lane and punished them for kills. SK turned it straight back around. A great adaptation.
Now you get Rift Herald, and you can actually trade on top side for the Terra Karzi's about to take on bot as well. And if you can crack open this turret, you're getting a lot more control. And this was a much larger gold lead that Mad Lions had, and it's starting to teeter back and forth. I mean, 5 games deep, some mistakes creeping in for Mad Lions.
I think the gameplay from both sides has been very chaotic, has been very kill focused. And that is actually a good thing here for SK, because if they're able to pick some of these fights, use that mechanical ability they've demonstrated to find some kills, they can try come back into this game, but it will require, of course, punishing Mad Lions, who now are looking for Irrelevant, gets caught out by that shock blast, the slice, the dice. Chasey, does he find the shot? No, it's flashed away from Irrelevant, stays alive.
Ooh, flashing just barely to get on out of that one, but holy! Elyoya played that nicely, jumping up to dodge away from the stun, getting back into it. Niski has a push straight back in the mid lane, so it's once again Mad Lions with control over the map. And for both these teams, having control over river and enemy jungle is paramount. So much pick potential on both sides. We saw the Zoe from Niski take over in game 1 once Mad Lions had Prio. Surtus and SK need Prio to allow him to do the same.
It's gonna be so difficult because of the fact that Chasey can just keep hammering away. He's got that Eclipse already completed, working towards second item. 3 towers have already fallen on the side of SK Gaming, and they've lost control of their jungle. And look at this, pushed all the way back to their inner turret, while Mad will steal away that blue buff.
It does feel like Mad Lions are just doing a better job, though, of keeping up the pace, playing around their vision on top side, constantly punishing the fact that Irrelevant's behind, and SK just can't do that.
They can't right now. Hylissang hops over that wall. Will not be able to find an initiation, will not be able to find any members of SK to start the fight. So ultimately that one just fizzles, but they can continue to steal away those jungle camps. They can continue to apply pressure in their respective middle and bottom lane, but Irrelevant is pushing top. He's going to be able to get some damage down, and is also
he's got red buff, by the way,
behind Chasey. Teleport coming in here from Surtus, or Niski rather, as he's joining the fight. The tower is secured. It's a 1 versus 2. Another teleport coming forward. Niski is under some damage threat, but it's Surtus caught out a little bit by the side. Exekick trying to take down Niski. Here comes Kazi. He's held in place by Marcoon. It looks like Kazi is locked in place with the prison, and SK Gaming have a numbers advantage. They use it to find some kills. Elyoya will be hunting.
Elyoya is still here, but Karzi used the rocket jump the wrong direction. He was running back towards mid lane while Elyoya still wants to fight.
The cocoon landed onto Marcoon, but they're too far away. A lot of teleports used there. Niski jumping into the fray. Surtus jumping into the fray, but another kill for SK, which is huge, as all of a sudden Surtus was almost blown up.
Exekick flash being down for this next fight, though, is huge. Niski not having flash also gives a little bit of safety to the SK side of things. With a minute until this dragon, I'm expecting this to explode once more, but this was just Irrelevant sticking around a bit too long, and SK coming to save.
Yeah, honestly, I was like the 2v2 with the soul laners. I've seen this one before, but Mad Lions got revenge right off the rip. Still, though, Dawson Exo were here first, so it looks very strong for them as they sort of focus down onto Niski. I think Niski actually interrupted the dash there from Exekick too, which was almost really, really bad for him. Luckily, he had the flash to be able to turn it around, but here's where it goes weird for Karzi, because he W's away really far, even though Elyoya is here, and then starts heading down while Elyoya keeps wanting to fight, a little bit scattered in what both players on Mad Lions are trying to do.
And Marcoon being able to interrupt that first rocket jump may have had a gigantic impact, gave enough time for SK to find those kills. Now at 20 minutes, this 4,000 gold lead is starting to feel a little bit less significant, and the fact that Mad Lions have been a little bit chaotic in these fights.
And the fact it's SK. We've seen them come back from these deficits again and again against Heretics, against Vitality, and now they need to do it again against Mad Lions. This is the team that's the odd one out in playoffs, the one team that hasn't won a title, and they have to slay every single one of their opposition if they hope to try and take the title. But it starts here with Mad Lions to get another dragon for themselves.
Now, can Mad find another fight? They're once again clearing out SK's jungle, consistently keeping that vision deep and consistently taking the wolves, the Krugs, the blue. SK have been denied so many resources. And once again, they are pushed all the way back to the inner turrets. They're playing extremely defensively. They do not have much vision to work with.
This is the part of the game where SK just struggle to get farm. First of all, Marcoon, he's being invaded on, he's playing the Sejuani, he'll never farm again. Either it's going to Alyoya or it's going to his teammates. Sucks to be Sejuani. But also, Certes will find it really hard to farm, especially in siege situations, because Zoe doesn't really want to be playing to clear waves. That's going to be X-Kick's job. Instead, is going to play deep in the fog of war, looking for these sleepy bubbles, but like on the defensive side to try and catch out someone that's hitting off onto the tower. It's a very different look to the Zoe we saw earlier in the game, but what it means is that it's going to be much harder to reach the next item breakpoints for the mid-jungle of SK.
Especially as a Zoe, you want to be trying to play from ahead, from a lead, so you can use the walls and people sitting under towers, but that's not what we're getting here.
It goes all the way forward, is knocked back by the ultimate fortress.
Oh, Hilly!
The storm is huge once again. Hillisang holds everyone from SK in place. Bakazi is jumped on. He's focused. He's killed off by Dos, who flashed over the wall. All of a sudden, Certes is the target, and he flashes away from the explosive cast. SK find another kill, and now have a numbers advantage against the Mad Lions.
They've nothing left in the tank, though. Marcoon has already used the ultimate, so Mad Lions know they're safe to push in. Use the health bar advantage that they have and start to set up vision for the Baron. Won't be able to get the inner turret, but it is at least a little bit of SK gold.
You have to give credit to SK's target selection, the ability to find the carries.
Hold on.
Carzzy
Carzzy jumped into all of them.
Fair point. Fair point. But I think for SK, they are going to take every single one of these moves.
Let's track what Carzzy did here, because the ult at first is good. Disengage, that's the right idea. Then Mad Lions get a different idea. Hillsang sees a very low Exa, which Carzzy also sees. Unfortunately, they all turn around on him. Marcoon isn't CC'd for that long, and Carzzy has no front line. He just went in at first.
I mean, very disjointed on the engage. You can see they wanted to have Nisqy there. That's kind of the combo you were talking about at the start, Ender, where that barrel goes in, but too little, too late. Now you've actually gotten SK with a little bit more gold in their back pockets, starting to again see if they can set up for this Baron objective. And when you have when you're on the red side, it becomes very difficult for Mad Lions to just quickly start this up, because you always have to be aware of Marcoon coming over the wall.
I think also, crucially, up until that previous fight, Certes and Exakick were not significantly further behind their opposite numbers, so at least the damage on the side of SK was not falling so far behind. We haven't seen Chasey find those shock blast poke damage moments to be able to influence the follow-up fight, because frankly, Mad Lions have been either surprised or caught out multiple times. So we're 22 minutes into this game. There is still a gigantic advantage for that Jace versus Renekton. But because of the fact that it's so much more difficult to use that Elise to go for those tower dives in the inner turrets, Mad Lions have not been able to, push that advantage, push that lead even further.
I will say the good thing for Mad Lions is that they have been able to sort of dominate the vision game inside the enemy jungle. Wherever they group up and walk in, it just belongs to them. So in the future, playing towards 3rd, 4th Dragon, I really like their chances of controlling that area of the map. And again, if Zoe is walking into a dragon fight, especially from the red side, really hard to find good angles to land your bubbles. The walls aren't really favorable for you to work off of that. Also on Mountain Rift, a couple more nooks and crannies that Mad Lions can hide and wait with a Gragas, a Rel, or an Elise. Any one of those players looking for a pick, or Hillisang trying to find a long loop around flank, is something he's definitely going to be eyeing on.
Certes is playing this really smart on side lanes, though. The second he spots out where Alyoya is, or the majority of Mad Lions, that's when he's going aggressive, so then there can't actually be anyone collapsing onto him. He's very vulnerable in side lanes, but if there's no chance of anyone coming, he's fine.
They're going! That's Alyoya locked in place. He repels up, but what goes up must come down. And another kill secured. Exakick 3, 2, and 3 with 35 seconds until the next dragon spawns. SK have got an advantage, and they've got the time.
I mean, they might just be able to move over to the Baron. 30 seconds on Alyoya. They're going to go there and potentially look to turn. Now, so many big ultimates have been used. It's just irrelevant with the ulti here, but you can see how far away Carzzy is from the rest of the team. SK can find a fight before the carry arrives.
Ziski's no ultimate available to him either. Carzzy
What's relevant?
Trying to catch back up. Marcoon steps forward, turns the attention over to the members, but Hillisang trying to slow them down. All of a sudden, Chasey and Irrelevant are dropped in the fight. Carzzy is remaining untouched. Keep your eyes on Certes, forced to flash over
Carzzy's
the wall.
huge!
Carzzy, rocket jumps forward, looking for the reset on Dos. Will get it. All of a sudden, Exakick is dropped by the Nisqy on the mid lane, and it is just SK. They got run down in the pit.
He's dropped by, I know, the Gragas in the mid lane. It's confusing absolutely everyone. Nisqy also on the charge, and he kills
though from Mad Lions. Carzy managing to get the kills, and the follow-up is there. And now Mad Lions, they get the Baron. They get to reset. They get to move over towards the Dragon as well. And especially with Carzy